0312 local time. The storm is already hammering Thule Air Base sideways, snow running horizontal across the tarmac at 40 knots. Wind shear pushes radar towers into audible vibration. In the north sector, 2 members of Alpha Security Squad crouch behind a snowcat, rifles steady, tracers carving blue lines into the whiteout. The flashes come irregularly, one every few seconds, low angle, maybe 100 meters out. The comms channel cuts with static. Generator lights strobe across the fuel depot wall. Nobody knows how many shooters there are. The only clear fact is that the base is under live fire, and half its sensors are blind from ice buildup. 0315. Inside the operations center, a dozen screens show contradictory data. The ANFPS 132 array reports 10 unidentified heat spikes across the eastern perimeter, then drops them. The drone feed shows nothing but thermal fog. A watch officer, Captain Redfield, cross-checks infrared frequencies, reading temperatures that swing 40 degrees in 2 seconds. It looks like refraction. He calls for manual recalibration. The room shakes as a generator coughs into surge mode. Redfield's second in command notes the air pressure shift, minus 33 Celsius outside, gusts at 50 miles per hour. They think it's atmospheric interference. Outside, 5 figures move under the wind, their rifles sheathed in fabric to mute reflection. 0318. The first sentry at the fuel line reports movement. 2 silhouettes crawling behind storage tanks at bearing 067. Distance 80 meters. The base's security AI identifies the blips as mechanical debris from wind. The sentry argues over the radio until a flash cracks across his visor. The sound is swallowed by the wind, but the impact lights up his chest camera for half a second. Command flags it as equipment malfunction. The algorithm cross-references power fluctuations and decides there's no intrusion. Redfield nods, distracted by power metrics. In that moment, 2 attackers breach the maintenance hatch leading under the comms tower. The wind hides the clang of the latch closing behind them. 0322. At the generator station, Specialist Ramos checks load readouts. Current draw spikes by 8%, then steadies. He hears the rhythmic hum of the diesel backups below deck and thinks the storm has caused voltage feedback. He resets the breaker. The lights blink twice, then level off. He doesn't see the cable loop attached to the main conduit, half buried under slush. A 30-second delay in the data stream masks the discrepancy. Upstairs, Redfield logs the all clear. He reports environmental interference to NORAD at 0323 and closes the incident flag. Outside, the attackers advance at 1 meter per second, dragging insulated packs that register as negative heat. Every camera reads them as shadow. 0325. The lockdown sequence triggers automatically when the internal fire alarm trips. Blast doors seal the hangars in less than 10 seconds. The echo rolls through the base like a low thunderclap. Inside the south wing, a maintenance crew of 3 gets trapped in the tunnel between sectors. They have no radio contact. One slams on the steel door until his gloves rip. The system registers them as potential breaches and cuts the lights. Redfield assumes the lockdown will confine the intruders to outer sectors. He doesn't know 4 of them are already inside, moving through conduits less than 10 meters from the main data trunk. The lockdown isolates defense teams instead of protecting them. 0327. Patrol Bravo moves through Corridor 12 with helmet lamps on low beam. Air temperature inside is -10, colder than expected for a sealed passage. Sergeant Haynes leads, checking for sabotage near the backup water lines. He spots a set of boot prints leading away from a vent shaft. Standard NATO sole pattern. He radios command for verification of recent maintenance crews. Command replies that a Danish contractor team serviced the line last week. Haynes hesitates, takes a photo, and continues forward. The attackers, hearing his steps echo through the shaft, freeze for 15 seconds before resuming movement toward the control block. They pass a pressure sensor that's been shorted with a resistor wire. 0331. The first internal explosion hits the secondary relay room. It's small, maybe 1 kilogram of plastic explosive, but it rips open insulation conduits and showers cables across the deck. The lights dim. Power flickers across 3 grid sectors. Generators attempt to balance load at 70% capacity. In engineering, Ramos curses as voltage regulators flash red, then green. He assumes frost buildup is shorting the line. The damage control team suits up, unaware the fire they're about to extinguish is a decoy. The true breach is a code loop inserted via the same line. It sends stable readings back to command while systems go dark one by one. Data continuity remains perfect. Reality does not. 0333. The snow outside reaches whiteout level. Wind gusts at 55 miles per hour push visibility to less than 20 meters. Alpha Squad, still near the depot, hears gunfire echo from inside the base. The sound arrives with a 2-second delay, bouncing off the hangars. They mistake it for ricochet. Their commander orders a fallback to Sector Delta, distance 400 meters. Movement speed drops to 1 meter per second. They drag the wounded sentry, whose vest is cracked from the first shot. The snow muffles the sound of approaching footsteps from the opposite direction. When the 2 groups converge at the corridor entrance, it's less a firefight than an accidental collision of heat signatures. 0335. Gunfire inside Corridor 12 lights the walls in strobe bursts. The defenders' M4s fire semi-auto to conserve rounds. Attackers respond with suppressed carbines, slower rate but perfect aim. Muzzle flash length, less than half a second. Distance between teams, 15 meters. The echo is contained, deafening in the tunnel. 2 attackers drop in the crossfire. One collapses against the coolant pipe, steam hissing through the bullet hole. Haynes drags his corporal into cover behind a junction box. Radio link is down. The fight lasts 40 seconds. When silence returns, 4 bodies lie in mixed light from emergency strobes. The snow outside swallows the smoke seeping through the open vent. 0338. Command receives fragmented transmissions, contact Corridor 12, then static. Redfield initiates internal sweep using drones from Hangar 2. The system reports movement neutralized. Thermal overlay shows 4 bodies, no active heat signatures. Redfield assumes threat contained. He sends engineers to re-establish power. At 3:41, a new spike appears at the generator bay, 30 meters from where Ramos is rerouting cables. The spike lasts 6 seconds, then flattens. Sensors interpret it as heat distortion. The attacker's time charges are primed for detonation on grid reset. The false data loop masks countdown signals. Everyone in control believes the base is stabilizing. 0344. The surviving attackers begin withdrawal through the storm. They move in pairs, speed roughly 1 kilometer per hour, heading toward the ice shelf at bearing 114. No lights. The storm erases tracks within 90 seconds. The base radar can't penetrate the blizzard. Every ping bounces off frozen particulates. Inside, the power flickers once more as systems attempt restart. Ramos throws the breaker at 3:46. For 4 seconds, the readings normalize. Then a pulse surge travels through the network. The charges detonate. 3 concussive blasts register simultaneously at the generator station, power junction, and east tower. Overpressure flattens snow against walls. The base drops to emergency lighting, 0348. The shockwave throws Ramos across the room. His headset records the thud, then silence. In operations, monitors flash red, then black. Redfield calls for status reports. None arrive. The storm outside absorbs the sound of collapsing steel. Alpha Squad, halfway back to command, sees a column of steam rise through the snow glare. They think the fuel depot has gone. The squad accelerates to 5 kilometers per hour, slipping on ice. Visibility, 20 meters. Distance to base core, 200. Wind speed, steady 40 knots. They hear faint automatic gunfire. Defense turrets rebooting on standby mode. Target parameters unverified. Every sensor now reads friend and foe alike as thermal anomalies. 350. Turret Bravo. 3 opens fire on the snowfield, following residual heat from rifle barrels. Rounds impact at 10 per second, low angle, creating sparks across frozen ground. Alpha Squad ducks behind a drift, shouting IFF codes into the comms channel. No response. The base's defense, I runs a reinitialization sequence, seeing their heat signatures as unclassified. Friendly fire begins in earnest. One turret takes a hit from small arms and swings off target, cutting its own power feed. In the operations room, Redfield slams manual override. The system hesitates for 7 seconds before acknowledging command. In that time, 3 of his own perimeter drones are destroyed by base defenses. The attacker's remaining demolition unit triggers secondary charges from remote transmitters buried near the comms relay. Range 800 meters. The explosion shears the antenna mast and sends metal shrapnel through the snow like confetti. Communications with NORAD drop instantly. Redfield's team switches to local radio. Interference fills every channel. The defense grid, operating on half power, continues scanning the storm for non-existent threats. The surviving attackers fade from sensors at 0358. The system keeps painting ghosts where they were. Command still thinks the fight is ongoing, launching flares into the storm that illuminate nothing. 0359. Silence creeps back into the corridors. Haynes checks pulse on the wounded corporal. Still breathing. The walls drip from condensed steam. Temperature inside drops to -7. He picks up one of the attacker's carbines. German manufacture. G95 variant, custom suppressor. No markings. The fallen man's uniform tag has been scorched, but the embedded ID chip still pings faintly. Haynes pockets it. He calls command for extraction. Static answers. He starts moving toward the elevator shaft, counting steps by instinct. Every 30 meters, a motion sensor blinks, registering him as unknown until the system finally shuts itself down for lack of stable power. 4:02. Outside, the storm slows slightly, wind at 30 knots. Alpha Squad reaches the outer gate, now a half-collapsed frame of steel and snow. The base perimeter lights flicker to life for the first time in 15 minutes, casting short shadows over the drifts. One of the wounded attackers lies half-buried near the fence, pulse faint, face frostbitten. They haul him into the shelter. No insignia. His accent, when he mumbles a word in delirium, sounds German. Medics strip his gear, finding encrypted radios and a data stick labeled with Danish serial numbers. The room goes quiet. Redfield stares at the markings and says nothing. 4:10. Emergency crews work under portable lamps, clearing debris from the generator bay. Steam rises through the fractures in the floor. The smell of burned insulation mixes with diesel fumes. Temperature remains -29. Engineers cut open the panel to inspect circuits. The internal wiring looks deliberate. Color-coded bypasses that shouldn't exist. Someone had knowledge of the base layout down to conduit numbers. At 4:14, a drone from Hangar 2 manages a 5-minute reconnaissance flight. Altitude 80 meters. Footage shows tracks heading southeast toward the ice fjord. The heat trail ends at the shoreline. After that, nothing but sea spray, frozen mid-air. 4:17. Command initiates full base sweep. Casualty count: 8 American personnel lost, 4 wounded, 3 attackers confirmed KIA, 1 captured, unknown others escaped. The power grid remains at 40% capacity. Data logs corrupted between 3:20 and 3:45. The surviving servers display repeating error strings as if loops are still running. Redfield orders isolation of all external links. Satellite comms remain offline. He writes in the incident log, "Attack repelled, probable external infiltration." He doesn't include the recovered ID chips yet. The base is still technically blind and speculation is forbidden. 4:40. The storm begins to break, sky faintly brightening over the frozen bay. Debris from the comms tower glitters in low light, scattered across 100 meters of snow. Recovery teams search for remaining explosives, finding none. The base returns to minimum operational mode. At 4:43, NORAD reestablishes partial satellite contact, transmitting a one-line query. Status confirmation requested. Redfield replies, operational. Hostiles neutralized. He hesitates before sending the next word. Unknown affiliation. He deletes it, retypes, pending. The message goes out at 4:44. 5:10. The body of the captured attacker expires from hypothermia during surgery. Medics extract subdermal ID implants from his forearm. Serial numbers traced to Danish and German special operations inventories. Forensics logs the discovery at 5:18. The data is encrypted under temporary code Glacier. No broadcast, no acknowledgement from higher command. The bodies are sealed in temperature-controlled storage, tagged as unidentified. Outside, repair crews work under halogen floodlights, clearing ice from antenna bases. Each shovel strike rings metallic through the thin air. Nothing else moves except wind across the radar domes. 6 o'clock. The morning briefing notes. Major damage to infrastructure. Containment achieved. Satellite relays to Washington remain unstable. Temperature -30. Wind steady at 28 knots. Engineers estimate 48 hours before full power restoration. Alpha Squad debriefs in the hangar, helmets on the table, eyes hollow. Haynes reports finding European weaponry and advanced comms encryption. Redfield orders silence. The transcript ends with a single line, base secure, cause undetermined. The men disperse into the dim corridor, boots echoing on steel. The power hum is steady again, low and uncertain. 6:20. Outside, daylight finally breaks over the horizon. The radar dishes rotate slowly, sweeping an empty sky. Snow drifts cover most of the footprints. The wind has dropped to 15 knots. Across the ice field, faint reflections mark where the attackers detonated their last charges. Sensors show stable readings now, but every system carries residual errors in calibration. In the operations room, Redfield watches the monitors, their green bars pulsing evenly. Beneath the hum of electronics, one auxiliary fan emits a slow, rhythmic click, 1 per second, like a heartbeat. He doesn't mention it. The base appears normal, but nothing truly is. The silence has weight, like unfinished math in cold air.